They called themselves the Krell hegemony, arbiters of cosmic order, self-proclaimed sculptors of galactic destiny. In their cold, crystalline halls, light years from the nascent Sol system, they looked upon humanity, a chaotic, emotionally volatile species, teeming on a single, fragile world, and saw only a potential weed in their meticulously cultivated garden of stars. Their solution, born of an arrogance so profound it bordered on the divine, was elegant in its cruelty. A tailored bioweapon, a viral agent designed with chilling precision to unmake us. They engineered a virus to kill humans. Their fatal assumption, their biggest mistake, was believing their creation would obey their intent. They thought they were gods. The virus they unleashed showed us what it truly meant to become stronger than any god they could conceive. This isn't just a tale of interstellar war or alien miscalculation. This is the blueprint of your own potential writ large across the cosmos. It's about the crucible that forges true strength, the hidden power that ignites when the universe tries to extinguish your spark. It's about how the very thing designed to destroy you can become the catalyst for an evolution so profound, it redefines what you are. The Krell hegemony, a civilization millennia old, prided itself on its mastery of genetics. They saw DNA as a language, and they were its supreme linguists, capable of writing sonnets or death sentences. For humanity, they composed an epitaph, the Thanatos Strain. It was designed to slip past our primitive immune defenses, to target the very sequences that made us human, to unravel our biology with ruthless efficiency. They studied us from afar, cataloging our weaknesses, our susceptibility to emotional contagion, our fractious societies, our relatively short lifespans. They saw these not as aspects of a young, dynamic species, but as fatal flaws ripe for exploitation. Their galactic consortium allies, a whispering chorus of 100 lesser races, nodded in agreement, eager to see the human problem resolved before it could spread. The Krell didn't anticipate the sheer, stubborn, beautiful chaos inherent in human DNA. They didn't understand the relentless drive to adapt, a force honed over millions of years of earthly struggle. They saw a species that had barely mastered its own planet, blissfully unaware of the silent, viral judgment hurtling towards them through the void. Their logic was flawless, their technology impeccable. Their underestimation, however, was galactic in scale. They believed they were pruning a branch. They were, in fact, striking flint against steel, preparing to unleash a firestorm. When the Thanatos Strain arrived, it was insidious. Not a blazing invasion fleet, but silent, invisible spores drifting through our nascent off-world colonies, carried on the solar winds, a Trojan horse delivered on the breath of space itself. The first signs were subtle, a lingering fatigue, a strange resonance in the bones, a peculiar heightening of certain senses just before the inevitable decline. Then the cascade failures began. Systems shut down. Cities fell silent. Hope dwindled. This was humanity's first contact, not with a hand of greeting, but with a sentence of death delivered by an unseen executioner. This is the first brutal truth. Your greatest trials will often come unannounced, engineered by forces you don't yet comprehend, targeting what you perceive as your inherent nature, your very identity. It might be an external crisis, a devastating loss, or an internal collapse of belief. It will feel like an extinction-level event for the person you thought you were. The Krell believed they were simply exposing human weakness. What they were truly doing was applying the ultimate evolutionary pressure. The initial reports from the outer settlements were fragmented, terrifying. Luna Base went dark. Mars Colony transmitted screams before the feeds cut. The belt clusters, those rugged outposts of human ingenuity, fell one by one. On Earth, panic was a contagion almost as swift as the Thanatos Strain itself. Governments collapsed. The fragile web of global civilization tore apart. For a time, it seemed the Krell's prediction was accurate. Humanity was dying. It was a symphony of despair, played out on a planetary scale. But within that despair, something else was stirring. Something the Krell, in their sterile perfection, could never have predicted. Deep within the human genome, a storm was raging. The Thanatos Strain was a masterpiece of destructive engineering, yes, but human DNA was a library of ancient resilience, a testament to eons of survival against impossible odds. It wasn't just a code to be rewritten. It was a living, breathing testament to adaptation. The virus sought to unravel. Our DNA fought to reweave, to reinterpret, to transcend. The crucible, this is where most break. This is where empires fall, where individuals surrender their power, where the narrative of victimhood becomes permanently etched. Humanity was on the rack, stretched to its absolute limit, and for many the limit was reached. The graveyards, both literal and metaphorical, filled, but not for all. Think of your own life. When have you faced your Thanatos strain, the moment your meticulously planned future shattered? The betrayal that ripped your trust to shreds, the failure so profound it made you question your own worth. That is your crucible. That is the point where the universe, or perhaps your own self-sabotage, attempts to engineer your demise. And like humanity under the pall of the Krell virus, you have a choice. Succumb or find the fire within the wreckage. For a small, statistically insignificant percentage of those infected, the Thanatos strain didn't just kill. It changed. The viral code designed to deconstruct found itself in a wrestling match with genetic sequences that held dormant potentials, echoes of evolutionary paths not taken, capabilities locked away like forgotten gods. The virus became a key, albeit a brutal and unwelcome one, unlocking doors humanity never knew existed. These weren't miraculous, painless transformations. They were born of agony, of near-death experiences that pushed the human body and mind past every known boundary. Fevers that burned away the old self. Cellular restructuring that felt like being torn apart and rebuilt molecule by molecule. It was a desperate, chaotic, unplanned evolution happening in real time in the dying embers of human civilization. This is the second brutal truth. True transformation is agonizing. It is not a gentle awakening. It is a violent rebirth. It demands you sacrifice the old you, the comfortable you, the weak you, on the altar of what you can become. If you're waiting for a painless path to strength, you'll wait forever. The Krell, monitoring from afar through their sophisticated, yet ultimately blind instruments, saw only planetary devastation. They registered the population collapse, the cessation of complex technological signatures, the dimming of city lights. They prepared to file their report with the Galactic Consortium. Humanity neutralized, threat contained. They celebrated their sterile victory, their perfect biological solution. They had no sensors for the silent screams of metamorphosis. No algorithms to predict the rise of the phoenix from the ashes they had created. Slowly, reports began to filter through the static. Whispers at first, rumors of survivors who were different. Individuals who had walked through the fire of the Thanatos strain and emerged not just unscathed, but enhanced. Their senses were sharper, capable of perceiving spectra previously invisible. Their physical resilience was astounding. Wounds healed at accelerated rates, toxins were purged with unnatural efficiency. Some developed uncanny reflexes, preternatural intuition that bordered on low-level telepathy. Others found they could interface with technology more directly, almost organically, their minds becoming extensions of the battered remnants of human networks. They were called the Ascended, or in the raw, unfiltered language of the desperate survivors who witnessed them, the God-touched, or more accurately, the virus-forged. The Krell had intended to create corpses. They had instead kick-started a speciation event. Their weapon, designed to exploit human weakness, had inadvertently targeted the very mechanisms of human potential, supercharging them. The flaws the Krell perceived, our emotional depth, our chaotic adaptability, our complex and seemingly redundant genetic code. These were the very things that allowed for such an explosive, unpredictable transformation. One such story is that of Commander Eva Rostova, stationed on Titan when the plague hit. Her entire crew succumbed, their last breaths rattling in the frozen methane corridors. Eva, too, fell into the viral fever, her body a battleground. For 3 weeks she hovered between life and a horrifying cellular unmaking. But when she awoke, the constant, gnawing cold of Titan felt distant. The subtle radiation that permeated the moon was no longer a threat, but a whisper she could almost understand. Her thoughts, normally a disciplined soldier's calculus, now flowed with an unnerving clarity, processing data from the station's failing systems with intuitive speed. She could feel the stresses in the station's hull, sense the flickering energy pathways. The Thanatos Strain hadn't just failed to kill her, it had integrated, rewired, and upgraded her. Eva Rostova was no longer just human. She was something more, something the Krell had no name for. This is the power of unintended consequences, the universe's brutal irony. Your greatest perceived weaknesses, when subjected to immense pressure, can often reveal themselves as the bedrock of your most profound strengths. That overthinking mind, under pressure it can become a strategic supercomputer. That intense emotional sensitivity, tempered in the fire, it can become profound empathy and intuition, a radar for truth in a universe of deceit. The Krell saw our genetic diversity as a sign of imperfection, a lack of standardized design. It was, in fact, our greatest arsenal, a deep well of potential responses to any threat, including theirs. The scattered pockets of Ascended began to find each other. They were the antibodies of a dying species, now imbued with a power that defied known biology. They didn't just rebuild, they reimagined. They took the broken pieces of human technology and with their enhanced intellects and intuitive grasp of systems, pushed it light years beyond its previous limitations. Ships that were once lumbering freighters became sleek, almost sentient vessels. Communication systems, once reliant on clumsy radio waves, began to hum with psionically attuned networks. Humanity, or what was emerging from its ashes, was learning to harness the spark within in ways previously confined to myth and legend. The Krell hegemony, confident in their kill, eventually sent survey probes. Not warships, just automated data collectors to confirm the silence of Saul. One such probe, a sliver of obsidian material, hyper-advanced and utterly alien, entered the Jovian system. It expected to find derelict stations and frozen corpses. Instead, it found Eva Rostova, her consciousness now networked with the reborn Titan defense grid. The probe didn't even have time to scream a warning back to its masters. Rostova didn't just disable it. She disassembled it mentally, sifting through its intricate alien technology like a child deconstructing a toy. She learned its language, its protocols, its origin, and its creator's fatal assumptions, all in the span of a few heartbeats. The hunter had become the data point. This moment was a turning point. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about a paradigm shift. Humanity had been pushed, and it had pushed back with the force of an exploding star. The Ascended weren't interested in revenge, not in the petty, emotional way the Krell might have understood. They were interested in truth, in balance, in ensuring that no other species would suffer such an arrogant, ill-conceived judgment. They were preparing for a new kind of human diplomacy, one backed not by pleas, but by undeniable, evolved capability. The Krell received the probe's final, fragmented data burst. It was corrupted, filled with impossible readings, whispers of capabilities that their models deemed non-existent. At first, they dismissed it as system failure. Arrogance is a stubborn shield. But then other long-range sensors, pointed towards Saul out of lingering, almost subconscious unease, began to report anomalies. Strange energy signatures, vessels moving with impossible grace and speed. A dawning, chilling realization began to creep through the crystalline consciousness of the Krell leadership. Their perfect weapon had not only failed, it had backfired with cosmic, species-altering force. The vermin had not only survived, they had evolved, and they were evolving in a direction that was rapidly eclipsing the Krell's own stagnant, self-satisfied power. This brings us to the core of it. They engineered a virus to kill humans. It made us stronger than their gods. The Krell in their god complex believed themselves to be the apex. They were a static endpoint of evolution, polished and perfect but unchanging. Humanity, forced through the viral crucible, became a dynamic, accelerating force. True strength isn't about achieving a static state of perfection. It's about embracing perpetual growth, continuous adaptation, the relentless drive to become more. The Krell were gods of a fixed universe. The Ascended were becoming masters of an ever-expanding one. What does this mean for you in your life right now? It means that every challenge, every setback, every virus, be it societal pressure, personal trauma, self-doubt, or the machinations of those who wish you ill, carries within it the seed of a terrifying, exhilarating transformation. The Krell in your life, the forces that seek to diminish you, to define you by your weaknesses, are making a fatal assumption. They are underestimating the spark within you, the limitless potential for adaptation encoded into your very being. Consider the Galactic Consortium, that collection of alien races who had tacitly approved the Krell's plan. They represented the chorus of negativity, the doubters, the ones who prefer the status quo, who fear disruption and emergent power. When news of humanity's metamorphosis began to ripple through the interstellar networks, first as unbelievable rumor, then as undeniable fact confirmed by their own terrified scouts, a wave of panic ensued. Their neat categories of human weakness were shattered. Their projections of a compliant, easily managed species were replaced by the terrifying unknown of what these Nova humans represented. The first official recontact was not initiated by the Krell, but by a delegation of ascended humans led by individuals like Eva Rostova. They didn't arrive in warships bristling with obvious weapons. Their ships were sleek, organic-looking, radiating an energy that was both powerful and unnervingly calm. They didn't issue threats. They presented facts. They showed the Galactic Federation representatives the Krell's own viral schematics, then demonstrated the human genome's response. Not just a counter, but a complete resynthesis, an evolutionary leap. The alien perspective shifted from contempt and fear to sheer, unadulterated awe mixed with a healthy dose of terror. Here was a species that had faced biological annihilation and had turned it into a genetic jackpot. They hadn't just developed immunity. They had assimilated the weapon and used its energy to fuel their own transcendence. This wasn't just human ingenuity. This was unexpected evolution on a scale that rewrote galactic understanding of life itself. One Krell ambassador, a being of pure thought encased in a shimmering energy field, finally confronted an ascended human directly. What are you?" It pulsed, its usual arrogance replaced by a tremor of existential dread. The human, a young woman who had once been a civilian botanist on a colony decimated by the Thanatos Strain, now stood with eyes that seemed to hold the light of distant nebulae. She smiled, a calm, knowing expression. "We are what you made us," she replied, her voice resonating not just in the air but in the Krell's mind. "You sought to find our limits. You succeeded. You found they were far beyond your comprehension. You sought to extinguish our spark. Instead, you fanned it into a sun. This is the ultimate HFY, humanity, fuck yeah. Moment, not born of blind jingoism, but of proven resilience, of turning the enemy's greatest weapon into your own ultimate strength. It's the underdog story played out on a cosmic scale. The Krell thought they were the gods. The Ascended showed them what it meant to surpass divinity through sheer will and adaptation. What can you learn from this to apply to your own battles, your own evolution? Embrace the crucible. Stop running from hardship. Stop praying for an easy life. The Krell virus was a death sentence that became a gateway. Your viruses, your failures, your heartbreaks, your deepest fears realized these are not endpoints. They are catalysts. They are the evolutionary pressure that will force you to adapt, to grow, to unlock potentials you never knew you possessed. The pain is the process. Don't waste it by seeking comfort too soon. Lean into the fire. Let it burn away what is weak, what is non-essential. Recognize your fatal assumptions about yourself. The Krell made a fatal assumption about humanity. What fatal assumptions are you making about yourself? That you're not smart enough, not strong enough, not worthy? These are the viruses of negative thinking engineered by past experiences, societal conditioning, or your own inner critic. Challenge them. Starve them. Your DNA, your inherent being, is packed with latent potential. The Thanatos Strain didn't add anything new. It unlocked what was already there. Your struggles can do the same for you if you let them. Understand that true strength is adaptive, not static. The Krell were strong but rigid. Their strength was in maintaining their current state. The Ascended humans became strong through continuous, radical adaptation. In your own life, clinging to old identities, old habits, old beliefs in the face of new challenges is a recipe for extinction. Be fluid. Be willing to unlearn, to relearn, to become unrecognizable to your past self if that's what survival and growth demand. The person who walks out of the fire is never the same person who walked in. Master your inner Krell. We all have an inner Krell, that part of us that whispers of our limitations, that seeks to prune our ambitions, to keep us small and manageable for its own comfort. It's the voice of fear, of complacency, of arrogant self-certainty that prevents growth. Identify this voice. Understand its motivations, usually a misguided attempt at self-preservation based on outdated information. Then, like the Ascended facing the hegemony, meet it not with aggression, but with undeniable evidence of your evolving capability. Show, don't just tell, that inner Krell that it's operating on a fatal assumption about who you truly are. Turn underestimation into your secret weapon. The Krell's underestimation of humanity was their undoing. When others underestimate you, don't get angry, get strategic. Let their low expectations be the cloak under which you cultivate your true power. Let their dismissal fuel your determination. The greatest shock to any adversary, whether it's a rival, a societal barrier, or your own self-doubt, is to reveal a strength they never accounted for. The Ascended didn't announce their transformation with fanfare. They demonstrated it with quiet, overwhelming competence. The era after the Thanatos Strain became known as the Ascension. Humanity didn't build an empire to rival the Krell in the old sense. They became something different, a species defined by continuous evolution, by a deep understanding of cosmic interconnectedness, and by a quiet, unshakable confidence born from staring into the abyss and finding within it the power to reshape reality. They became guides, catalysts for other young species, protectors against the kind of cosmic arrogance that had almost destroyed them. They didn't seek to be gods. They sought to empower the god potential in all sentient life, the spark within that the Krell had so tragically misunderstood. The Krell hegemony, they didn't fall in a blaze of glory or a retaliatory war. They slowly crumbled, their rigid ideology unable to cope with the reality of the Ascended humans. Their galactic consortium allies fractured, some seeking alliances with the transformed humans, others retreating into fearful isolation. The Krell's biggest mistake wasn't just the virus. It was their belief that they had reached the pinnacle, that there was nothing left to learn, especially from a species they deemed inferior. Their stagnation was their true doom. Your journey is no different, even if it's played out on a personal, rather than galactic stage. The forces that seek to limit you, whether external or internal, operate on the same principle of underestimation and a desire for stasis. They want you to believe that the virus of your current circumstances, your current weaknesses, is a death sentence. It is not. It is an invitation to engage with your own genetic code, your core beliefs, your deepest capabilities, your untapped resilience. It's an invitation to undergo your own ascension. The universe, in its brutal and beautiful way, is constantly engineering viruses for you. Challenges designed, it seems, to break you. But what if they are actually designed to make you? To force you to dig deeper, to adapt faster, to evolve into something far stronger, far more capable than you currently imagine. The story of the Thanatos Strain and the rise of the Ascended is a testament to this principle. What was intended as an instrument of extinction became the tool of transcendence. What was designed to highlight weakness revealed unimaginable strength. The gods, who sought to control and destroy, were ultimately outmaneuvered, out-evolved, and rendered obsolete by the very beings they scorned. So look at your life. Identify the Krell, the people, the situations, the beliefs that seek to define you by your perceived limitations. Identify the Thanatos Strain, the current crisis, the persistent challenge, the gnawing weakness that you fear will be your undoing. Now understand this. Within that challenge, within that perceived weakness, lies the raw material for your evolution. It will not be easy. It will likely be the hardest thing you ever do. It will demand that you let parts of your old self die. But the alternative is to let the Krell win, to let the virus do its intended work, to succumb to the narrative of your own insufficiency. That is not your destiny. Your destiny is to find that spark, that unyielding core of human potential that transforms poison into power. It's to look your crucible in the eye and say, "You were sent to destroy me, but you will only make me stronger than any god you can conceive." The Krell made a fatal assumption. Don't let the limiting beliefs in your own mind or the projections of others make the same mistake about you. The virus is here. The crucible is waiting. Your evolution has already begun. The only question is whether you will fight, adapt, and ascend, or allow yourself to be catalogued as another failed experiment. The choice, as it was for humanity facing the Thanatos Strain, is yours. Become stronger than their gods. Become stronger than your gods, the false gods of fear, limitation, and self-doubt. Unleash the spark within. Your metamorphosis awaits.